Welcome to class 3. So put everything on the side there, chair next to you or on the floor, so your hands are. So let's get our posture right. Let's make sure we're take a deep breath in and keep your arms open, unfold your legs. We want to have an openness and a receptivity. Keep your chin up a little bit. You don't have to look up to the sky, but don't look down. So please just kind of watch your posture when we're praying so that you're open and receptive. Your body is open and receptive. Take another deep breath in. Okay, you made it. You made it on time. Here we are. It's a beautiful day. And it's a wonderful day to recognize that one presence and infinite power is working in, around, and through each one of you. And through your presence here today, you've signaled to the universe that things are going to be changing in your life, that you're going to move into a life that has greater expression, greater prosperity, greater living, greater loving, greater giving, greater receiving. And knowing this, we walk into this morning's service, this morning's lesson, and we do so with an open mind and an open heart. We do so willing to listen to things that might make us feel uncomfortable, but we listen to them with the idea knowing that there is something in there for us to receive, to plant, and to manifest in our life. Something wonderful is about to happen again this morning. I just know it. There's an energy, there's a vibration, there is a willingness, and there is the opportunity for each one of us to grow, to expand, and to enlighten ourselves in the spiritual practices of giving and receiving. For this and so much more, we just let it be so. We give great thanks, and together we say, and so it is. Amen. Grab a partner, preferably someone you haven't worked with before. Hey, William. Everybody have a partner? Anyone need a partner? All right, we're going to slide you right in with these people right here. All right? Okay, really simple task. Just go through, what I want you to do is just kind of open up your books a little bit. Just kind of refresh yourselves about what you wrote in some of these things. Refresh your memory about what you wrote. And then just share it with your partner. Not specific things that you wrote, but share any insights that may have come up as a result of your reading or doing the exercises this week. All right? So anything that may have popped up that you were comfortable with, maybe something you were uncomfortable with. So just kind of take a couple minutes just to examine your notes first. And we're going to take about 7 minutes to do this so that we'll start again in about 7 minutes. You have plenty of time to look those over and just share what happened. And if you weren't able to get to the homework or you chose not to, kind of share the reason why you're not doing it so that people, all right? And what we can do to encourage you to do that, all right? So, Jay, I'm going to have you be right here. Althea? Alvina, up here. There you go. The two of you can share. There we go. Perfect. So just take a few minutes to do that. You've got another 3 minutes. 3 minutes left. Okay. Thank your partner and head back to your seats, please. All right, let's get back in. Okay, would anyone like to share briefly, very briefly, any of your insights that you feel like you want to share with the class? Anyone want to share anything? Yes. Hold on. Tara, here we go. And then you start. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tara. In terms of insights, I'm just attending this, but it's very interesting, and I kind of didn't know what it was about, but I love Dr. Joe's classes, so I like growing. I'm here today, and I have a band on my arm. I wear bands on my arms, and they all have a purpose. And one of the bands on my arms is about receiving right now. I have a hard time with a compliment. Thank you. You know, and it's the self-talk that immediately comes in to justify why I don't get it. Thank you. you look good or something. Oh, or thanks for doing that. And the other one is when I do something for someone else, I tend to be a giver. And when I'm a giver, I have a hard time accepting the appreciation that someone wants to go, oh, I would have done that for anyone, and
Right.
it's just not giving myself that love back.
Get it.
And bingo.
Totally get it. Go for it. Anybody else?
I love this lesson because
Put your microphone right up to your mouth for me, Hen.
I love this lesson because I have learned never to say no to anything, even if it's an invitation to an expensive lunch. I think, oh, that's too expensive for her to. I learned never to say no because I'm blocking the law of circulation and I'm not allowing that person to give. That has a wonderful lesson for me to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Kay. Put it right up to your mouth,
I
please.
have to think about what I was going to say.
Anybody want to go next?
No, I think I can. I think I can do it.
Go for it.
You know what? Really, when I was reading this Mind to Receive, I was reading the notes that I took, and the whole thing was very good. But what really stopped me was I do not have to do anything to deserve goodness, and I just had to stay with that because it just, it.
Right. I do not have to do anything to deserve goodness.
Yeah, and
That stuck with you.
it just really stuck with me because what?
Well, because a lot of times we think that if I do a certain thing, I'll be rewarded for it. Yeah. We don't see ourselves as just predisposed spiritually to have good happen to us. We almost feel like we have to build a case for good to happen. And so if I don't have the case for good to happen, then it's not going to happen. So, but we forget our spiritual genetic code, if you will, that said we're meant to have good things to happen. And we're not supposed to create a case for it. You already are a case. Well, basket case, some of you, but you already are the case for that. All right? That was too easy to walk into. Way too easy. Anyone else want to share any insights real quick?
Just so you know, my last name is Case.
Case. Okay, there you go. All right. So we're going to proceed into the class here. So here we go. Giving and receiving, the relationship between giving and receiving. Before I do that, I want to say, how many of you, and you can be honest about this, let's cut to the quick. How many of you find it really difficult to give your money, like to the church or to a charity, or just to give your money away? How many people have a hard time, they kind of hold it tight? How many people have a hard time doing that?
I always think I should be more generous.
Okay, so I would say this. To the degree in which you have a hard time giving that is probably the degree in which you also are having difficulty making it or receiving it. Hang on. So to the degree that I'm reluctant to give, when I look at my situation, my financial situation, I go, well, there seems to be a hesitancy on part of the universe to give to me because I feel like I'm always kind of struggling financially. I'm always working on it financially. I'm never quite there financially. But a person who lives in relationship to the right giving gets the right receiving. So if you're having trouble giving, I can guarantee you it's probably because you haven't been priming the pump and understanding that the law of giving creates the receiving. Right? Does that make sense? All right. So it is kind of in a direct proportion, right? Giving for the purpose of receiving may be a block to experience abundance. Some people give so that they know there's a return. They pretty much go, okay, you know what? I know it's written somewhere that if you give something, it comes back pressed down, flowing over in tenfold. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this because I need this in return. A return on investment. I need this ROI. I need this return on my investment. That's not the way we give. We give from an open heart. We give from a free place, that place of loving, not the place of an expectation in return. The expectation in return becomes commonplace, and when it becomes commonplace, you're less surprised about it. Does that make sense? You're like, oh, I expect these things to happen. For instance, even with the center here, We tithe out from our center. We also believe that when I have to have something, like let's say a computer goes down, if we have to have a computer because it's necessary for next week's service, I don't want to hear from someone saying it's not in the budget to get the computer. It's like, well, what do we do? Stop services? No. You know what? We go ahead and we get it, and we know that whatever we need, our needs will always be met. Right? Will always be met, and then some. So it's a deep trust that you have to have, because many people don't have a lot of trust in the universe to do that, right? All right. In the Bible, and I don't like necessarily the way it's written there, but give and ye shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that ye met, withal it shall be measured to you again. Basically, what that means is this. What does that mean? I'll let you tell me what it means. I don't need to tell you what it means. What do you think that means? That when you give, right? When you give of good measure and give it from the heart, it shall be returned to you, pressed down and flowing over, right? But it's also going to be given to you with the measure that you use to give it. That's just what I just said, actually. Yes, it's about regulating. It's actually about, thank you, Mom. It's about regulating your own flow of good. It's about creating a regulatory object or a regulatory component to regulating your good. And you decide how that's going to flow. The universe just responds to you. We've gone in reverse. Again, when it comes to giving and receiving, we usually say, when I receive, I will give, right? When I have it in the account, I'll be able to do it. When I have it in my love bucket to give, I'll be willing to do it. When I have it in my, whatever it is, go ahead. Done.
Well, I was just going to say, because the universe is a mirror. It just mirrors back. Exactly.
Exactly.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Well, and it's not just there. It's time, talent, treasure. It's your love. It's your energy. It's your joy. It's your frequency. It's your vibration. All of those things. So the universe is a mirror unto us, what we put out into it. And so when we understand that, we just have to understand the way it's written is actually the way it unfolds. Give and ye shall receive. You can't do the 180 switch. You can't go receive and then I'll give. It has to be the first thing first, because how do you give? Where do you give from? You give from a place of where? Faith. Faith and trust. So if you lack faith and trust in the universe and you're reluctant, what is that reflecting back to you in your life experience? A life that's filled with reluctance and doubt and distrust and lack of faith and fear. So this particular part of your life is a real direct reflection of the depth of your faith in the universe to provide for us. It truly is a litmus test. If there ever was a litmus test, this is the one. Because when we start talking about giving and receiving, especially the money part of it, we start talking about giving and receiving. I'm not just talking about the church, but I'm talking about doing wherever you are spiritually fed. That's what we just say. Wherever you are spiritually fed, making sure that is done in direct proportion to what you feel you should be giving, so that you feel right about in your receiving. Because if there's any reluctance on any part of that, it will come back to you reflected, equal to your resistance. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Hang on. Hold on. No, you can't. I got to get my people on the live stream to hear you.
Well,
and say hello to your daughter. Say
hi,
hello to Jill. There you go. My sister's watching this on live stream. Go ahead.
well, I think I finally get it. I don't like to use the word trust in God. I like to use the word trust in the universe, and to use what we're talking about right here, to really think about that. It's taken me a very long time to kind of get it.
Yeah.
As much as I do now.
Well, yeah, and it's again, no one ever arrives to this table or arrives to this center fully briefed, right? No one. I don't think anybody can walk in and go, I've done all this before. I've heard all this before. I'm totally 100% on board with all of this. Because in our humanity, in our human experiences, we tend to experience things, and it sort of challenges our faith a little bit. It challenges us at a time when we're like, so it kind of diminishes, our life experience at times diminishes our faith, but we have to come back and reestablish that. Faith in the universe. Faith in the universe. I like that. Faith in the universe versus faith in God. It's a semantic thing, but it actually makes sense, right? Anybody else have questions? Comments? That easy? Is it that easy for you?
What's interesting about it, you say, coming back with faith in the universe is you're only as good as your last thought and your last action. It's no flash in the pan. I mean, spirituality, you don't put it in your pocket. It's not something you keep, and that's why I keep coming back. And you say the same things in different ways, and I read them in books, and I affirm them, and I teach them, and that's the gift of it.
Right. No, it is. It has to be consistent. One thing about this practice, hopefully this last 2 weeks, hopefully, if you're doing the practices consistently, the way you're supposed to do them, like one a day, you're actually starting to create a momentum for spiritual practices. Now, I'm trying to get the journals that you're working on, the full journal, the 365-day journal. And that way, you could do a year of this kind of stuff, and you'd have to do it on your own, but it's a good exercise. So we're trying to find them. They're out of print. I'm trying to get Edward to shake a few loose, but Edward's busy with the center right now. Speaking of which, Gatana, remember Gatana? Did you travel? Who? Yeah, Gatana. Her house burned down. It was one of the people that our tour director, Jim, has two children, Tim and Gatana's 6 months pregnant, and her house got burned down. Yeah, this week. So yeah, it's talk about practicing the art of receiving. Because a lot of those people now have to receive, and it's going to be a challenge, and we're going to have all of us step up to giving to them as well. All right. So, what does it feel like to give from a place in the heart that's joyful? Where do you give that makes you feel good? Let's ask that question first. Where do you give that makes you feel good? Yeah.
I had to discover this, and I discovered this when I became a mom. I'm a selfish, self-centered individual who's a recovering alcoholic, and the paradox for me was I grew up in a home that didn't know what love was, and what makes me happy is to help someone else discover and explore happiness. I think that's the essence of it. There's nothing that gives me more joy than that.
Okay. Anybody else? What else? Where do you give that makes you feel good? Your family? The church? Friends? Students? Sorry? Veterans and volunteering? Pets? Food for the homeless? I'm sorry? Neighbors? Mean people. Giving to mean people.
I give the love right there.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, good. I get it. Anybody else? Makes it feel good? I'm sorry? The center? Good. We appreciate that. Work? Okay, good. Yeah, were you strangers at work? Yeah. I mean, what if we took opportunities throughout our day and looked around us a little bit and saw places we could give, not necessarily our money, but ourselves. Give of ourselves. I mean, the other day, somebody was struggling, just putting their groceries in the car. They had a kid in one hand, and the cart was on an angle, and it was starting to roll away, and you could just tell this mom had it. She was at the end of her rope. And it's like, I could have very easily just walked by and went, so glad that's not me, right? I mean, really, we've all had that conversation in our head, right? Going, I remember that, honey. Trust me, it gets worse before it gets better. I mean, we can all have the little antidotes, right, about that. But it's like, I'm in a hurry, but I thought, you know what? I never should be in that big of a hurry to not stop and help. It's like, here. What do you want me to take, the cart or the kid? Which one? Surprisingly enough, she handed me the kid. I mean, and like I'm like, you must trust that I'm not going to run with it, you know? It's like, okay, here, I'll take the baby. So I held onto this baby, and it was crying, and she was just like, thank you so much. You have no idea how hard this is. I said, yeah, I do. Yeah, I know when you're holding on with a cart like this, and the kid's flailing, you're trying to get your groceries in, and then the cart wants to roll away. No, I get it. Let's become open to the opportunities, because we always think we're opening to the opportunities to receive good, right? I want you to open up yourself up to the opportunities to actually giving more than you've ever given before. All right? And then we're going to talk about receiving more than you've ever received before. Because if you went through the chapter this week and you read the things and you did the work that was in there, there's some stumbling blocks to receiving, at least for some of us. All right? Anyone else? Yes, Eric. Hold on, let me grab you the microphone. I'm dancing up here. Okay.
This week, last few weeks, I've been noticing that when I am giving freely, it's almost like I just sort of get out of the way and things flow smoothly. It's not like, I don't feel like I own the gift or own the giving. It's just kind of, I get into a flow. It's almost like when a car engine is working well and it hums. You hit the gas and it hums. You don't get excited. You just are able to proceed.
Right.
And that's kind of how it feels like when I'm in the right space with giving. It's just I'm part of a larger whole that's flowing smoothly.
Yeah, once you get into that practice, and really, maybe I should get a Dwayne Gaines back out here. Once you get into that practice and you really embody that, there's less struggle just in your life in general. It becomes less difficult to do what needs to get done every day and to get, to create a healthier life, to create a more joyful life, to create a more prosperous life, to create a life that has, creativity and work, whatever that is. It becomes easier because there's a flow, there's a natural flow. Things can only flow where there's flow. There has to be an in and an out, right? And you can't just have all in and you can't just have all out. There are people that have all out. They just give till they're just so tired they just can't give one more thing, and they collapse because all they do is give and they're just exhausted. And that's what they say, that I can't give one more thing to this. Does that anybody? Right? Conversely, there are people that I know that they never give, but they're constantly receiving, and it seems like they can't ever get enough. And yet there's no giving in their lifetime. They just take. And have you ever been around those people? Anybody? Okay. And it's kind of challenging to be around them. At first it's okay, right? It's okay. But then after a while you're like, this is feeling really one-sided, right? Does anyone ever have that feeling? Where you feel that one-sidedness, where you kind of go, this is kind of bugging me a little bit. It's not balanced. And I know that's my own judgment call that it's bugging me, right? Because they're not exercising it. But then I have to have what they call spiritual discernment. How much do I want to continue doing this and be out of balance with this person? That's the question. After a while, the spiritual wisdom has to come forth, and you have to say, okay, now this is out of balance. Now there are times when things are going to be out of balance. I mean, I reflect on my mom and dad. Mom, I'm going to mention something here. I reflect on my mom and dad and how my dad was in a dementia care unit for a long time, for like 3 years, and my mom had to deal with Alzheimer's for 12 years with my dad. And he wasn't capable of giving what he used to give. And so in caregiver relationships, and everybody's kind of know what that's talking about, in a caregiver type relationship, there really is this line you have to cross over, and you have to be comfortable with it in your commitment to that individual, because it's something you signed on for when you got into a relationship with that person. So it's easy to fall into patterns of resentment and anger when you're dealing in a situation like that, and confusion, because it's you're constantly giving and there is no receiving. It's just a giving process. So I think at all different times in our lives, we have experiences like that where we have to use spiritual wisdom. This isn't a time that you would just say, oh, you know what, Dad, sorry, just going to abandon you because you're taking too much, right? You wouldn't do that. Hold on. Now, wait, Janie, now you complain when people don't talk in the mic. Now you just do it.
One good thing about your father is that he did just naturally continue to give love.
Yeah.
Remember, I mean, he would wait for me and
Yeah.
go to the window in the elevator and want to do the slow dance thing before. He always gave me love.
He always did.
Yeah.
Dad was a giant love bucket.
That time where we're out of balance.
Yeah.
I see that all the time because I recognize it, that was my experience, that there's this point when you're taking care of someone where you're mad at them because you don't understand. You want them to be exactly the person that they've always been to you, and
Right.
you can't accept that difference, and you get mad at them for really being sick.
Right. No, I agree. And so we have to make sure that when we're in a situation like that, yeah, Yolanda, I'm on my way. Here you go. There you go, right there.
I took care of my mother for the 6 weeks before she died, and I was at first working at journalism, and thank God my contract wasn't renewed. It was really a blessing because it gave me the time to be with her. I never felt a moment of resistance to it, or I wanted to be there, and it was a full cycle of life. I did all the body care, I did everything, and it was, for me, it was such a loving cycle of life because, of course, I was a baby, a newborn, helpless, and here she was at the last 6 weeks of her life, helpless, and had to have everything done for her. And yet, even in that encounter, I wrote a book as a result of it because I was asking her, what has made you so strong? And we had conversations because I wanted to get everything from her I could before she died. But it was a beautiful experience to take care of her.
Yeah,
All of it, all of it. It was such a blessing,
good.
such a blessing.
You're blessed to have that. People are blessed to have that opportunity. Yes,
The last time, I'm sorry.
that's right.
Humility, humility, humility. To think and do as our creator. For me, God is love. What does that mean? To think, feel, or express love. If I'm coming from that intention and the giving, and I've got a terrible situation with my mother, she's an angry, not mentally ill, and I'm giving to her, and she's coming at me with shame and stuff with some of the stuff I've done to help her, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving with love.
As long as you continue
And
that.
am I doing the most loving thing here? If I ponder what would love do?
And the challenge is keeping that position, that attitude
And then the gift
is a challenge. Right.
in giving is I can pat myself on the back. That's the gift.
Yeah,
I
that
the
you
right
did the very
thing.
best you could. And that's the whole key.
Happiness is the byproduct of spiritual, happiness is the byproduct of right living.
And I think it differs from everybody for the length of whatever the service is that you're talking about, however, whatever you have to give for the other person. I'm mentioning this because I don't want people to think that there are situations that will be out of balance. And there are some you can walk away from, and there are others that you cannot. Or it doesn't feel right in doing so. And the difference was that spiritual wisdom and the discernment that I'm talking about, which is, like it would with my father or with a close family member or a loved one, that's a whole different component than somebody who continues to take on a different level from you. Does that make sense?
You can step away lovingly and still pray.
Yeah, they have no choice but to take at this point. Yes.
I've been thinking as you're talking that there's a concept in the shamanic tradition called Aini, and it's an energetic kind of reciprocity.
Right.
And so I don't think balance it doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. It might be 80-20, 60-40, then it flops back and forth. So it's sort of a tipping thing, but we tend to think in our culture of balance as like this. But it can tip as long as it comes back to something that's
Right. It has to.
balanced.
It can't stay stagnant. The whole part about that is nothing can stay stagnant. It has to come back. There has to be flow. Someone operating at 80% and now they're at 20%, if that's the ratio, eventually the 80% will go, oh, and I can't do this anymore. I need some help. A good relationship is able to take that flow and that balance and work with it all the time. If I'm at 20, Trey's at 80, great. Swap it next week, right? When I'm at 80, he's at 20, right? And when you're alone, how does that balance? If you're a single person alone in your life, how do you balance that out? How do you balance that out? Anyone want to share how you balance that? How you balance out the giving and receiving when you are by yourself? Bless you. Through volunteering. Yep, that's one way. Just doing good works. What? Get a puppy. Yeah. Eileen. No, oh, I thought you were saying something. No, so yeah, you have to remember that you need both, the giving and the receiving. So how do you open up to that? You know, when you're in a relationship with someone, it's a little bit easier. If you have someone that's in your life, it's a little bit easier. Even if you're a single mom and a child, it's easier to get the flow going. But when you're by yourself, sometimes you can feel alone.
Well, that's where the self-care comes in.
Well,
Self-love.
exactly. That's what I was talking about. That's what I was leading right into. How do you give that self-care back to yourself? What do you do that's just for you that is something special? You know, get manicure, pedicure, go get a massage, go have a nice lunch with somebody, or go have a nice lunch by yourself, go on a hike, do something to engage the self-care component for balance. So you're not just trying to give, you're not just trying to create a life. Many people just spend a lot of time creating a life, but they never get to enjoy the life.
Love yourself.
Yeah, you have to love yourself. All right?
Otherwise, you can't receive anything.
None. All right, let's move on. Page 50. Turn to page 50, which would be in your journals. And someone took my journal. Attitude of gratitude. Remember that? So, looking at the attitude of gratitude, just grab a partner quickly. We're going to do a couple things with partners, and we're going to report out from where you are with your partner, so stay close by. So you and your partner get together. Someone you work with, someone you haven't worked with, it doesn't matter, but just find a partner for me, please. So I want you to share what you wrote down with your partner on this particular exercise. Just kind of share what you both wrote, all right? So go for it. Okay, work with Jay right there. Okay, stay right where you are. Okay, from those who did, stay right where you are, grab a pen. I left the slides. I just gave you the PowerPoint for the slides. You may want to jot down what some people are saying when we go through this exercise so that it may remind you of something that maybe you missed and need to learn about coming from an attitude of gratitude. When I say coming from an attitude of gratitude, what did some of you write down? What does that mean? The PowerPoint? Did I give you one, Mom? Here. Does everybody have one? All right. From class 3, all right? I think it's the second page, right there, the bottom of the first page, that's where we are. So take some notes, and if someone mentions something that you didn't come up with, maybe it's a good idea to maybe you could learn something from them. So when it says attitude of gratitude, what did you write down after you did that exercise? Anyone want to share? Ronald.
What I found is the more gratitude I have, the happier I am all the time in life. Like if I wash my car and it's great and then a bug hits the windshield and I get a resentment, I can see how the change happens.
One little bug screwed the whole thing up, right? I totally get it. So you know what? You want to hear a funny story? So Trey and I got our cars washed on Saturday. And we were in, the owner of the car wash was our old neighbor. So we're in Palm Springs. We're just talking with him. And I see a truck that's in the wash suddenly go in reverse. And it starts picking up speed. And I hadn't seen either one of our cars go through. And I'm like, oh no. And as soon as I heard the crunch, I'm thinking, oh God, that's Trey's car. And sure enough, we rolled out there and the truck had went through Trey's grill on his car. A fly, how about a F-150 going backwards towards your car? Yeah, you lose your gratitude in that moment. Yeah, we were like, but somehow the car flipped into reverse when it was in the car wash. But you know how you do it in neutral, how it goes through? Yeah, it flicked itself into reverse and just took off. We're like, oh, that's not good. That's literally what we said. Oh God, that's not good. It wasn't. It wasn't. All right, anybody else? What else? We got flies on the windshield.
In terms of gratitude is wanting what we have. And I always say the joy of what I have is lost in wanting more. And there's levels of gratitude. One of the things about gratitude is it's impossible to be grateful and grumpy. I practice gratitude constantly. I can't make a list. It doesn't end. You know, I'm grateful for all the adversity and the lessons, but there's levels of gratitude. Oh my God, I have a bill to pay. Oh my God, there's someone who doesn't have eyes. They can't see that bill. Someone doesn't even have a home to get the bill at. You know, and it's just, you can always just look at that and it just.
Right, grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Come on, jump in, Chris.
I'm always grateful.
Wait.
I'm always grateful for the sun because it comes up every morning, and I'm grateful for the stars because it brings a nice calm at night. And so I'm grateful for that rhythm and that pattern. So it's very easy to just be like, well, what am I grateful for? I mean, you know what? The sun rose today.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Which gives all this energy and life and abundance. And
right.
So it can start with something as simple as that.
I get it. When I was a flight attendant, that was always the best thing in the morning. No matter what would happen in the day, no matter where I took off, it could be cold and snowy, overcast and cloudy, rainy. I knew that within minutes I was going to see the sun. It was wonderful. Yeah, Robin.
I am grateful for my health. Everything that seems important has no value when you lose your health. And I've been experiencing, I've had like 17 days straight now, Tina, feeling good. And I had
That's because you started class.
That's right.
It happens to coincide with 16 days of class.
There you go.
Just saying.
Yes.
Something you might want to look at,
Yes,
Robin.
that's true. But you know, I just think that it's hard to be grateful unless you have your health.
Yeah. Gratitude, health spills over, attitude of gratitude. Health spills over to every category. When you're challenged in your health, it will challenge your relationships. It can challenge your finances and your flow. It can challenge your creativity and your work. I mean, it tests you spiritually. So, I mean, it hits every one of the pillars. So health is really important. Do you know what's really interesting? I used to do a prayer workshop, and everybody would hand in a prayer request, and they had to circle which ones were more important, and which one was the most important. And for the longest time, health was the first. But what I noticed is when I've done it recently, it wasn't health. It was money and work. So some people haven't put that together yet. That money and work, I want to say, let's look at your health now, and then let's look at your money and work. All right? Someone said,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. I'm going to grab someone else here. All right. Anybody over there? Yep. Eric. Close up to your mic, please.
I think we were both identifying that gratitude vibrates at the frequency of more. But when you're busy looking for more, you're stumbling over the things you already have in the search for it, and you miss the bounty before you.
One more time, louder.
Oh, I said gratitude vibrates at the frequency of more.
More.
But when your focus is on the more instead of the gratitude for what you have, you stumble over the things you have in quest for something that you can't actually reach.
Right.
You know, because you're missing the bounty around you.
Right.
And also, I think for myself, part of what is connected to cultivating an attitude of gratitude is looking for the gifts that I'm receiving rather than looking for something that I think I'm not receiving. Right? Recognizing the gifts that others are giving in their way and appreciating them rather than demanding how I think things should be given to me.
Right. Recognize. Okay. I like the way you phrased that. Look, having gratitude for the thing. Did you want to say something else, Chris? Yeah. All right. Hold on. Shoot on the other side. Hold on.
All right.
Gratitude starts that we're in a room where we can actually discuss gratitude.
Yeah.
We're together right now discussing gratitude. That not a lot of people have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Or take the opportunity.
Or take the opportunity.
Yeah. I like that. Go.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm a Lafayette, Coney Island girl, Detroit.
Right.
But anyway, today I just want to share this. I'm such a grateful mama. It's my son's 30th birthday. He's a chaplain now in Japan, and he's serving our country. And more than that, he's following his passion. He's following the truth of who he is. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that he turned out to being who he is.
Oh. And thank you. We appreciate his service to the country and your sacrifice while he serves the country. That's a lot. Anybody else? Hang on. I'll be right there. We're going to go this way. You go right. Hold on. Go for it.
I'm grateful for my health too, but one of the things I'm really grateful for is to have come as far as I've come spiritually. I have a long way to go, but I don't know how I could be at peace with the way things are, not only in the world, but in my personal life, had I not got the tools to be where I'm at right now.
Good.
I am so grateful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Hang on. Rick, go. Wanda here.
I think for me, cultivating an attitude of gratitude has meant that I've seen that what we have to be grateful for is endless. There's no end point to what we have to be grateful for. And the more we cultivate that, the more we see what we have. And I think we bring more into our lives as well.
I think what's interesting, and I want to bring this up, remember what was it, 2006, 2008, when the big recession hit, the last one? Remember? And the building all stopped and all that? And a lot of people lost their homes, and there were a lot of workers out of work. When things began to pick up again, I would have the contractors and people in my office, we'd be talking, and they're like, oh my God, I can't take all this work. I'm like, hey, whoa. You know what? Stop. You're going to stop the flow of work by saying that. Because you have a lot to be grateful for. You can never be too busy, right? You can never be too busy because you had all that lack, and now the universe is making up for it, so you just need to run as fast as you can and do whatever you can, but don't ever complain about being too busy because the universe will make sure you stop being busy. You know, don't complain about your job too much because if you do and you send the universe the message, next thing you know, you'll be looking for a job. right? Because it's not going to keep you in a place where you're unhappy. So exactly what Rick is saying, being grateful for, and even Eric, I may not have all that I want, but I'm going to be grateful for all the things that I have, and I'm not going to trip over the things I have running for something else. I'm going to have to stay in the gratitude, in the garden of gratitude, and enjoy what I have and still grow and evolve, the way Alice was saying, and have the spiritual tools to do it. Yes, Judy.
Yes, when we talk about being grateful for our health, which we all are, and it's so difficult if you don't have it, but what I'm witnessing firsthand in my home is I realize how grateful I am that I have mental health. I have never in my life, other than the passing of my husband, had a deep period of depression, but I came out of it eventually. But I'm witnessing the horrors of someone who is mentally ill with deep depression, symptoms of ADHD or bipolar. The doctors have given both diagnoses. I don't know which is which. But that is a living hell of a way to live every day with such depression and needing medication every day. And if you can't get it, what it does to you. And so we all have to be so grateful for the fact we have mental health. Some of us, most of us.
Boy, that was a leap right there. Yeah, most of us have mental health in the room. No, we see, Judy, I know exactly how you feel. Well, but you know what? You got to keep your spiritual tools in order, because you falling into that is like, when the blind lead the blind, they both end up in the ditch, right? So don't get in the ditch. I mean, Yolanda is the perfect example of someone who could lose their sight and stay out of the ditch, right? And they'll be a leader. Yolanda, can you put it closer to your mouth for me, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm with you on I'm so grateful for my mental capacities, believe me. I am so grateful for them. And my son just got married for the first time at 41 in June to a lovely woman, and my daughter's studying for to go to law school. So, they're in great shape. I have the love of my life in my life, and I'm very grateful for this experience of blindness. People go, oh my God, how sad. It's just, I go, it's not the worst thing in the world. And for me, it's been just full of blessings. I've written a book. It's going to be published next year. I have a great life. I've had a remarkable life, and it's not over yet. And it continues to grow and blossom because I am in gratitude for everything I have. And I love your thing about everything I don't have. And it's just every day is just really a gift. And I'm able to still contribute and do wonderful things and engage with people. And it's just been really a blessing, and I'm very blessed.
See, so let's end on that note. I'm grateful for everything I have. I'm also grateful for some of the things I don't have. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't have that I'm grateful I don't have. And you really need to examine that phrase. Because there are some things I don't want to experience, and I'm grateful that I'm not experiencing them. And I know people that are experiencing them. So it's really difficult when you see that. So I'm grateful for everything that I have, and I'm also grateful for everything I don't have. Right? All right, moving on. We're not going to do pairs on this one. We're just going to talk about it. What blocks your ability to receive? What practices could you recommend to grow and expand your readiness to receive? So the next one we did was receiving on page 160, which would be the next. Just flip it over. So on page 160, you did the readiness to receive. What blocks do you have in your ability to receive? I think, Tara, you mentioned earlier about just it's difficult for you to receive compliments. It's difficult for that. There's a block there. What blocks? Where are your blocks? Anyone?
Well, it was just that thing about somebody giving you something that you don't want. That was a nice slap.
Yeah. Did you? And there's an exercise we're going to do in the second half about what happens if someone gives you something you don't want. A block in receiving. It's like, when someone gives you something, you go, oh, thank you. And all you're thinking about is, please tell me there's a receipt at the bottom of that. Tell me there's a gift receipt at the bottom of that box, please. Pass it on. Regift. Yolanda, you're a regifter. Oh my gosh. Okay, whole episodes have been written about that. Anybody else? Your blocks. What other blocks do you have? Yes.
Don't want to be a victim again. Years ago, I became a victim, and that's the hardest part I have in receiving or asking for help is don't want to repeat my past.
Okay. So yeah, you want to make sure that we move out of victim mentality quickly because the universe provides more opportunities to become a victim when you don't heal that. So if one is feeling that we're still in that presence, you need to really work through the spiritual tools to feel like I'm healing that. Mother, go.
I was just going to say that sometimes I just don't feel worthy. I might feel introverted or just not worthy, and that's when it's really hard to receive something. But I want to say something about appreciation. I just want to say that, Joey, I am grateful for you, for who you are, and for you being my son, and you do so much to take care of me, just like your dad. I mean, we take care of each other, but still, you're always there when I need you. So I just want you to know that.
Oh, thank you,
And I think
Mom.
you know it, don't you?
I do.
Basically.
I do. I know that. I do know that. Thank you. And thank you for giving birth to me, too. Taking care of me. And scratching my head when I'm upset. Rubbing my back when I'm upset. All right, anybody else? Changing those diapers. I was potty trained at 2 months. I don't know what you're talking about. I came out potty trained. All right, so let's move on. Next thing. In its own time, what is the process of your life teaching you about patience when it comes to receiving? This is one of the biggest challenges we have. You know, and in this teaching even, when we pray, what do I always tell you? The demonstration is instantaneous, right? As soon as you say, and so it is, the demonstration is done. Waiting for us to show up, right? In other words, I always use that grate. For those of you, whenever I say, and so it is, what I prayed for just starts coming to me from that big old grate back of the building, right? And sometimes I'm like, well, I can't see it yet. It's taking too much time. Why is this taking so long? And I get upset because I have this lack of patience. Can you identify with that? And in what areas of your life have you had to learn about patience in receiving whatever it is you're looking for? Anybody? In areas of your life, what have you had to wait for? And that patience was really testing you to receive that. You were ready to receive it, but boy, I tell you what, a couple times you looked up and said, I guess it's God's will that I don't get this. Right? Be right there, Yolanda.
I recently finished work on a novel that I've been working on for years and was on the brink of publishing it. And right before I was going to send it to the formatter, I found out that somebody had just released a movie using the title that I had planned to use. And titles aren't subject to copyright law, but I just don't want to publish my novel under the same title as somebody, that has been used for this movie. And so I've been sort of open and receptive to what I believe there's a better title out there for my book. I believe that there's a better title for my book, but not better than theirs, but better than the one I had for mine. And I have not received it yet. And I've brainstormed and talked to friends and tried every technique I can, and it has not come. And so there are times where I have lapses of faith, and I just feel like I should just scrap this whole project. I know that's not true, but...
So the book is done?
The book is done.
The book is done. It doesn't have a title.
Correct.
So what if you submitted the book without the title and just said, read this?
No, I'm publishing.
You're self-publishing. So you don't have somebody to read it. So you have to come up with the title. So we're going to pray for receptivity on your part. Ideas start flowing. That's what we're going to. Yolanda, close to your mouth, please. That one takes a little effort.
This one takes effort? Okay. Because sometimes if you talk too close as a
Right.
broadcaster, you get some backup. I think part of it is the intentionality that hasn't perhaps been attached to a prayer, an affirmative prayer. And since I've lost sight, I've had 3 lovely relationships, 2 marriage proposals, and the girls say, pass them this way when they, But it wasn't until I set the intention to be able to love a man unconditionally and to be loved unconditionally returned that within a matter of days, I manifested that. And it's, it's been 7 months now of a perfect, beautiful, lovely, wonderful relationship of unconditional love on both sides. And it's really interesting because I think the intentionality of demonstration, and now when I think something and I need something, I say, well, gosh, I really need to do this or that. It's been coming, either as a gift or I bump into it on sale or whatever it is. It comes, and it's. I think it's because of the gratitude. It's because of the tools. It's because of an attitude of joyful expectation, and receptivity. And that's been hard for me to receive.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it. No, that's good. Thank you for that. And thank you for the fact that not only does it require the prayer, it requires the intention after the prayer. Intention and attention. Intention and attention. You can't just say the prayer and so it is and then go into worry mode. That it's not happening. The second you enter into worry mode that it's not happening, what have you just done? You just canceled it. Exactly. Right?
Well, getting back to the patience, sometimes there's times where it shows up and you've already moved on, so you don't care about it anymore. Like it did come, but then it doesn't mean anything because you've already moved on.
Right, you've already moved on. So yeah, no, and the timing of things showing up. Sometimes you're exactly right. Sometimes things show up that you thought you wanted, and you already went past it. You're like, oh, okay, good. Well, I'm glad it showed up. I'm glad it finally came out, but I'm not ready. I'm done with that already. Go ahead.
There's nothing that I value more than my peace of mind. Peace of mind is available in each and every moment if and when I choose it. I didn't find it until I was 43 after doing the mental diet. Spiritual tools, acceptance, gratitude, and forgiveness. That's what I used to complete that exercise. I didn't know it at the time, but if you're willing to, do the work after, peace of mind is there, and to know that it's only in the moment.
Right.
And that's the freedom, and that's where the gift of receiving is for me. If I have peace of mind, I got everything.
One of the biggest things that we do in that place of impatience when we're waiting is we reach out to other people and tell them how impatient we are, that it's not happened yet. And the problem with that is then usually those people go, oh, I know. Can you believe it's taking so long? Right? And so you have impatience by consensus. You have a group of people who are now piled on just saying, you're right, this is horrible, this waiting game is awful. And then they call each other the next day because it still hasn't happened, right? So be careful that you don't enter into the swamp of impatience and invite other people in there to join you. Does that make sense? Sorry? Right. Exactly. See it as the journey. See it as yeah. And it's, look at Dorothy on the Yellow Brick Road. Went through all kinds of little episodes, right? Next thing up, alignment. What are some group mind ideas we learn about abundance? What are some group, go to page 220, your meditation on 220. How come I lost that? There it is. So when the question comes up, what are some group mind ideas about abundance? Do you know what he's talking about? You know what we're talking about here? We're talking about that culturally, people are brought up to think you can only have this. You can only go so far in your life. This is going to be your lot in life. This is this is what your life should look like. Well, it's to be expected that you're living in life at this level. There is a group consciousness that also can keep us down because we buy into the idea that we have to mold in and conform with what other people have said this is where we should be at a certain time. This is what we should have achieved. This is where we should live. This is what we should be able to do. By this time of your life, you should have X and Y and Z. And there's all those expectations thrown out there. So we have to be really careful that we're not buying into the group consciousness or mind group, group mind ideas about those issues. That we see ourselves as individuals expressing God's abundance, not trying to match some sort of predestined number or situation that other people have said this is where we should be. It's hard to be in a receiving place when you've capped your receiving. Does that make sense? So remember we talked about earlier the measurement where I believe, if in my mind I only say this is the level, then I've already capped it, and now the consciousness, the race consciousness, the mind consciousness, right, also supports that. So we have to be careful that we bust that ceiling and go, and then some. And then some are the 3 words. Write that down. And then some. Because it's not just what you want, it's and then some. Right? More enough to share, more to spare, and then some. If you don't have the and then some mentality, what you will always get is what you need. You'll meet your needs, usually, and nothing more. And that's when, and be careful, because in receiving also, in the receiving component, some people want to have just enough. I just got to pay my rent. If I could just pay my rent and get that credit card paid off and make my car payment, if I could just do this. You watch your, if I could just, if those words, if I could just do, if I could just, be careful, because you're capping your good. Your ability to receive is going to be capped at that mindset. So watch that. If I could only do this, this is the one thing that you know what I'm talking about? Absolutely. You're setting the cap to your good. You're saying, this is what I need. So you'll get just enough to pay your rent, just enough to pay to make your car payment, just enough to not even pay off your credit card, but probably pay the minimum on your credit card. You want more than enough. You got your $30,000 exactly. And then some, and then some, and then some, more to share and more to spare. Right? So make sure that you're not capping your good by that consciousness. Well, peace on every that peace of mind. Oh, you said earlier, peace of mind is so apt. If we just treated for peace of mind, what would that cover? Just about everything, right? It would cover everything in our life if we just were to demand. Because that way, if I had peace in my mind, I wouldn't be worrying about this, and this. I'd have peace in my mind. What is peace in my? How am I going to get that? Am I ever going to get that? Well, here's a question. This is an interesting thought. Can I get peace? Can I have peace of mind while other parts of my life suck? Okay, that's it. Learning how to find your peace while some things are working their way through. Yep. What conflicts exist between what we learn from group mind and how things really are? Can you see the conflict that I just brought up? The conflict of we say the universe is abundant and limitless, and yet we've all put a cap on our good. Can you see there's a conflict there? Can you see there are ways in which society caps our good or tells us what we should be doing? You know, media, society, whatever that is, expectations from that. We have to be really careful about that. Where do you need to realign your thinking? Where do you need to realign your thinking right now so that you can get out of this cap idea? Where do you need to realign your thinking? Anybody want to share that? No?
Really watch what I'm talking about, what I'm saying all the time.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah.
Because I have that habit. I grew up in a family that didn't pay attention to anything. And so the way I do it, or should be doing it, is I pay attention. That,
right.
You know.
Okay. So one of your biggest things is to pay attention to what's going on and what you're saying and what you're thinking. Yeah. Actually bringing it to light instead of falling into old patterns of just saying what you want to say.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, breaking the paradigm, because we all have these old patterns, right? We all have old patterns. Anybody else? Where do you have to change right now? If there was one thing you had to change right now where you feel like you've capped your good, what would it be? Where you've capped your good, what would it be?
What came immediately to my mind is using adjectives that are really judgments. And judgment stops pretty quickly, my good, easily.
Okay.
Heartbeat.
All right, good. Watching how you describe things. Anybody else? Anybody who wants to step?
Wayne Dyer. We're only limited to the level of our belief. I have to question my beliefs constantly.
Yeah, because you're going right to them. Anybody else? Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Do you have something you would write down, but you just don't want to tell me about it? Is that what we're going through? All right, good. Hopefully you have something write down where you have something that you need to work on your realignment. Last one before the break. The receiving exercise on page 20. Oh, no, you know what? No, we're not going to do that one yet. I'm not doing that one yet. We're going to do that one after the break. So, you know what? I want to do this. Go to page 214, which was the next one. And you don't have to discuss this in the big group, but I do want you to discuss this in your smaller group. I want you to share what you wrote down on page 214, which is I want you to ask this question: how and where could I expand or improve on receiving? All right? I want you to share your self-imposed limits that you may have placed on yourselves in relationship to receiving, and share with your partner, how and where could I expand or improve on receiving? All right? So let's just take a few minutes to do that, and it will take like 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. All right? Go for it. Yeah, do it now. Page 214. Infinite possibilities. The questions are, what limitations have you put on yourself in relationship to receiving? And how and where could you expand and improve on receiving? So what limitations have you put on yourself, and how can you expand and improve on receiving? All right? When you're finished, go ahead and take a break. Let's take a 15-minute break. All right. Come on, everybody. Let's go back in. Okay. Come on in, everybody. Leave your food and everything in the drinks in the other room. So I want you to turn to page 20 in your workbook, the actual book itself, not the journal. And I'm going to read this over. We're going to read this together. The mirror image of giving is receiving. Receiving is more than accepting an item in your hands. It is an internal act of freely embracing it. There is no obvious way to structure or control receiving, as it is initiated by someone else. In fact, for some people, the challenge of receiving has to do with safety and boundary issues, a feeling that receiving can result in unwanted obligations. Some people prefer to be givers because it gives them a sense of power. Receiving makes them feel vulnerable. The receiving exercise is designed to allow you to notice and go beyond any blocks you have in receiving. The receiving exercise. This is one of the most difficult assignments you may ever have had. For one entire week, you are to commit to receive everything and anything that anyone wants to give you. You are to say thank you and simply receive whatever is offered you without acting on any desire you might notice to reciprocate. This exercise applies to everything from compliments to items you don't think you will ever use. If somebody says, "You look nice today," your response is thank you without explanation. Some common questions that arise in this exercise: what if someone gives me something I perceive to be negative? What if someone gives me something I don't want? What if someone offers me something that is totally unusable by me? To answer all three, take whatever it is, say thank you, and start paying attention to the world around you because someone somewhere needs, wants, or likes the very thing that you've received, like Yolanda said. Now you have an opportunity to practice circulation. You can pass it on to that someone. In this way, you become an agent of life's circulation because you did not block the flow. You said yes. Other common questions and concerns related to this exercise are, what if they want something from me? What if they give me something to control me? What if they expect something? When I first received this assignment from my teacher, her simple response was, well, don't give it to them. It was a life-challenging realization that I could receive without any obligation to the giver. It was something I had never thought possible. When you are practicing receiving, don't pay attention to whether or not Don't pay attention to whether or not you want what is being offered to you. Just practice receiving it with thank you as your only response. You don't have to consume it, use it, or wear it, although you may want to. For the purpose of this exercise, your focus is on the attention of receiving it with the thank you as the only response. You have many options for what you could do with the items you receive. Give it away, pass it on, compost it, circulate it. You can't do any of these actions, however, if you first did not accept the item. Other concerns that rise up regarding this exercise: what if it's illegal, immoral, or unsafe? I say have fun. The sensible answer to these questions is that all exercises in this class are to be approached with spiritual maturity. Of course, you need to know personally how far you can go with any exercise, whether it is at the gym or in a self-help seminar. If you already know that you are accustomed to having people around you who offer you dangerous things such as drugs, weapons, or illegal opportunities, then you have to clean that up before you can launch into this exercise about receiving. Here's an example of what may come up for you. Someone offers you to take you to lunch. You say thank you. You don't offer to pay the tip. Just practice feeling what it's like to receive. You may notice that there is some question in your mind about how the offer was intended. Make note of the thought. Your mantra for the week is, I receive gratefully. I receive gratefully. You ready? I receive gratefully. Again, I receive gratefully. One more time. I receive gratefully. All right? Just for 1 week, but who knows? You might begin to like it. You might find yourself throwing caution to the wind and letting the circulation of life flow around and through you. At first, this exercise was hard for me, but it brought several things to light. I became aware of how frequently I was saying no thank you, or I can manage on my own, or I don't need your help. Eventually, I realized that this behavior was getting in the way of another person's experience of circulation. Like Judy said that. By not receiving, I was ensuring that he or she could not give. I saw this clearly when I was having lunch with a friend experiencing financial difficulty. When he offered to buy the lunch, I wanted to jump in and rescue him. I saw how I had, in many situations, missed an opportunity to participate with others while they were practicing increasing their flow. Truly, receiving not only blesses you and increases your good, but that of the giver too. From this point of view, not receiving becomes a selfish act. Without a receiver, there can be no giver. Consider this radical question. What if God created you and the rest of creation so that it has something to give to? Whether or not this is accurate or true, it does open up our sense of how important receiving is. So let's back up, unpack that. What if God created you and the rest of creation so that it has something to give to? Think about that. What if you were created so God could give to you? What if that was your sole purpose? Right? The practice of receiving encourages us to go beyond any of our own resistance to good. It allows you to let in the love that is being offered to you by other humans and animals, by nature or by universe, and by God itself. If you ever feel hesitant about receiving something, perhaps it will help you to think, I have to accept this. It would be against my religion not to. People are saying a lot of things in the name of religion lately, so why can't you use that one? Right? I have to accept this. It's against my religion not to. What do you think? Do you think you could do a week of that? How many of you feel it's going to be a challenge to do a week of that? Right? So the question is, and you were supposed to write this down on the page 23, how do you deal with saying an appropriate no thank you when the gift is offered takes you beyond your comfort level? You don't get to do that this week. You have to say thank you, right? But it says, what do you do in the cases like that? What did anybody put down? Anybody want to share what you put down? You did this, right? Okay, yeah. What's that? I blew it. You blew it already?
Somebody wanted to give me popcorn at the movie last night, and I said no.
Well, you didn't have the assignment yet.
No, I did. I read about it.
Oh, yeah, okay. It is. It's hard. You know, it's difficult. I mean, I know sometimes I'm the same way. People are like, can we buy you dinner? I'm like, okay, I'll buy the next one. It's always a bargain. There's always a negotiations. Or, okay, you know what? I'll leave the tip. You know, or no, you know what? We had dessert and wine. No, we'll pick up the tab. There's always a reason not to receive fully, which means, you know, I give fully, but I don't receive fully, which is kind of strange because the balance isn't there. The opportunity is there, but I never take it. In other words, the option for giving to the level that or receiving at the level I give is there, but I always go like this. No, I'll take part of it. I'm okay with a little bit of it. Not all of it, but part of it. Hang on. I'm on my way over.
I was just thinking if this was a way we were brought up in the religion of my childhood, give, 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 it never taught us how to receive graciously what you're doing for me today.
Well, the flow. You know, it's like you can only put so much into a pot where it starts to overflow, right? So the stuff that overflows isn't any good. So you have to have the giving and the receiving. I mean, the example that was always taught in here is that what if this was a river of good that flowed through this sanctuary right here? It comes right through the middle, right? And what happened if I closed this door right here and it would go down to the end of the hall and then it would stop, right? And then we'd run out of good, right? Right? So I have to be able to open up the receptacle, the receiver, so that the good can flow. I have to be able to open that up. If either end is closed off, the flow is restricted. It stops moving. And when the flow is restricted, that's when we get what we talked about class 1, the Dead Sea. It dies because it doesn't have it, there's no flow through it. There has to be the flow through, and confidence in the flow through, and faith in the flow through, and courage and trust in the flow through. There has to be that element there. Yep. Anybody else? Yeah.
I see the problem rooted in childhood when we first are judged, shamed, blamed, or criticized, and we look outward, and we have to give of ourselves to become someone else. And then we don't know how to receive because we put on the ego. You know,
Right.
we're not who we pretend to be.
Well, we're constantly,
So, yeah.
especially in churches, a lot of churches, give, but they don't teach you how to receive. So a lot of us give till it hurts, and we never heal because there's nothing to put into the healer. There's no healing balm that can fix that because we're not even open and receptive to it.
The unconditional love has been broken.
Yeah. So what do you feel about that? How do you feel about that exercise? So it's going to be an interesting week, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, I'm thinking about all the things that people might say they want to give to me. Like,
We'll have a re-gifting party.
it's like, yeah.
Hands up.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yep.
Well, and saying no thank you to something, my husband always wants to share sports. He watches a lot of sports on TV. And I'm not interested at all, but so I could be reading a book or something and he interrupts me, he even stops the place and rewinds a little bit so I won't miss something. And sometimes
He's so thoughtful.
yeah, he's
Aw.
very thoughtful. And sometimes I go in the other room and do my stuff while he's watching TV. I mean, I'm happy that he enjoys it. So, I'm not trying to stop him.
You should
from
offer to
enjoying it.
read him some of your books.
Yes. I do.
You should offer a part of the class that you're teaching him.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes he'll listen to me, but not often. His mind is wandering elsewhere.
Yeah,
So.
like you do when you're watching his sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Eileen.
This has been coming up for me all week, but one of my best friends in high school was in a completely different social, financial class, their family. They're one of the oldest, wealthiest families in Long Beach. And I was like a curiosity that their daughter would bring over for dinner sometimes. But she taught me a lesson. It was a little to shame me a little bit. But she caught me saying, "Oh, no, 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 no," to a compliment. And she told me that it was like not acceptable to do that. It was gauche because it brought the attention back to you and it made the compliment go on and on, that the polite thing to do was to say thank you, accept it, and move on.
Good lesson. Anybody else? You like that? I like that. Eric. Question about the exercise. Yeah, not quid pro quo. Yeah, you can't say, oh, you know what, you could pick up the meal this week, I'll get it next week. No negotiations. It's your ability to just say, thank you. Now, in fact, if it's even in the back of your mind that you're going to do it, that's a sin. You're making it. I'm giving it, missing the mark. It's an error. I'll use the word sin, you sin. Yeah.
I'm in a situation where we go out to dinner and everybody's giving. And it ends up being like a Seinfeld episode where who's going to pay the check, and everybody's wrestling around trying to pay the check.
Don't wrestle.
Don't wrestle.
This week, it's against your religion to pay. That's funny. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've got a great daughter, Michelle, who she taught us because of her grandmother, my mother, would always give the kids gifts, and it was always something that was totally unuseful to them. And one daughter would always say no, but Michelle would always say yes. And I'd go afterwards and say to her, "Are you sure you wanted that thing?" She goes, "No, I don't. But Grandma wanted to give it to me."
Yeah.
So she could do whatever with it. So she was a great example to me of that. But this week, because of reading this, I came up with the 3 R's for me: relax, receive, and recycle.
Oh, there you go. Relax, relieve, recycle. Relax, receive, recycle. I like that. That's good. See?
I love you, then I love you too.
Yeah, that's a hard one, isn't it? Yeah.
How could I get somebody to be more, to say yes more than no?
Well, you can't worry about the other person. You're never going to get the other person. It's not your job to change the other person. It's the only person you can change is you. So it's not your job to do that. Your job this week, and all the time, is just to do the very best you can. And in this week, it's going to be allowing yourself to say yes to whatever's given to you. Wow, I can't imagine what that's going to be like today. Might have to go on vacation. Okay. Next thing. This week, there's another exercise. I want you to go a step further. Where are my notes? These are some things I'm just going to suggest to you. I want you to go buy 7 thank you notes. 7 thank you notes. 7 stamps. Yes, no, not emails. Right? 7 actual cards with envelopes and a stamp. Here we go. Also, in your notebook, here you go. The notebook can be used to keep track of everything anyone does or gives to you. Then once a day, each day this week, make a commitment to write at least 1 thank you note. Make it short and simple. Don't get bogged down by perfectionism or concerns about producing just the right tone. Don't do it via email. Don't send a text message. Send a handwritten short note on a card with the simple expression of gratitude. The results of this week's practice should be delightful and amazing to you and your targets. So, there's 1, you send 1 every day. At the end of every day, starting tonight, you send 1 thank you note out every single day. Address it every day. Something that you're grateful for, somebody did something, or you just want to say thank you for whatever, just write the note and put it in the mail.
Thank you. Can I address, please?
Yeah, exactly. So, yes. I would probably say try to find 7 different things that you're thankful for. All right? Yeah, I don't know. I think we do. I think so. Yeah. But find a reason, all right? So there you go. So how to be more grateful every day is something that can be developed and increased by simple practices that anyone can perform. A quick search on the internet about the health benefits associated with the attitude of gratitude should be enough to convince anyone to practice being more thankful every day. However, if it isn't enough, the feelings associated with gratitude may be. And the only way to experience that or those feelings is to experiment with expressing gratitude every day. Try these easy pointers to increase the amount of gratitude expressed and experienced daily in your life. Consider this to be the 3-week curriculum on how to be more thankful every day. Go about it with a sense of fun and adventure and purpose, of which is to discover if you really do feel differently upon completion of the experiment. So the first couple days, it might be kind of challenging to do, but I'm hoping that by day 6 and by day 7, after you've written them, you're like, you know what, this is really cool. I like sending this little note. And now, it doesn't take long to write a little note. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't email it. Don't text it. You have to actually write it. Then week 2 of accepting. To be more thankful every day, spend 1 week practicing being gracious when you receive something. This is what we talked about just now. In the past, when someone paid me a compliment, I would downplay it and explain it away. I learned that I could easily be more thankful every day simply by saying thank you when a compliment or gift or an act of kindness came my way. I had a hidden belief that my thank you wasn't enough. Now I realize that all I need to do really is to let someone know that I appreciate what they have done by a simple statement, thank you. Try for 1 week to be more mindful of how you respond to others. Practice being willing to receive what comes your way. This week's assignment is a little tougher because you may feel uncertain about how to respond to a gift or compliment, or concerned about the intention of the giver, or drawn to inadequately reciprocate. Try to put all this out of your mind for just 7 days so that you can focus on accepting graciously and thanking simply. It only takes 7 days. Finally, we talked about this already. Week 3 of your daily thankfulness practice is the most enjoyable. It is something you can do as a meditative practice at the same time of the day. For example, last thing in the evening before bed, or you can carry a small notebook around in your pocket and make a game of it. The idea is to look for small things around you to be grateful for. The idea is to begin to notice the things in your life that are easily taken for granted. When I do this practice, I start with physical objects closest to me. I write on the top of the page, I am grateful for, and then start listing the things, my clothing, the chair I'm sitting on, so on and so forth. The next day, I start all over with a new list on a new page, and to my surprise, there are infinite layers of objects in my world that I can acknowledge. So this week, in order to understand how to receive, a big part of it is staying in gratitude, being grateful. So looking around at your world, making an inventory. There's some spiritual practices to do this week. You've got that receiving, that's an easy one. It's going to be mentally challenging for some of us, but that's not a real doing exercise. That's more of a thinking exercise and actually being open and receptive. The things you have to do, you still have to do your journal entries. You have to do the reading the chapter or week 4 stuff. You have to do that homework. But the thank you notes, do a thank you note. Look for opportunities around you and look for things to be grateful for. I am grateful for. Every night before I go to bed, I don't know why, but every night before I go to bed, I love our new house. A new house. It's been 2 years, but it still feels like it's brand new. As I go up the stairs every night in my house, I go, I just love my house. I just love this house. Every time I put my hand on that railing, I walk up this, I just love my home. I love my home. And I mean, I really feel that every single day. I feel it every single day. I thank God for my home, and to me, it's just the perfect place. So find, and then, I'm going to do the exercise with you guys. I'm going to find new layers of things to be grateful for, And it can be material things, but then I think I need to look a little bit deeper at some things I need to be really grateful for. Does that make sense? All right. I think, yeah, we're done. But here we're going to go through the homework. Review your material for week 4, paying a special attention to the questions. Take time to write down your answers in the journal. Participate in class again. This week in preparation, read the journal parts, finish it, and do the thank you notes and everything we discussed. Everyone clear? I thought there was one more component, but I guess we could have moved one thing over to the side, but it worked out perfectly. Class is really, again, I told you the class is scheduled for 3 hours. It's actually a 2-hour class, but I always give a lot of time because if questions or things pop up, I don't want people to go, but you said we get out at 11, All right? Any questions? Did you enjoy the class? Yes. Yeah? Good class? Okay. All right. So let's close our eyes. Let's pray our way out. Let's have a good day today, yeah? All right. Let's take a deep breath in. Just like inhaling and exhaling, giving and receiving. This week, it's all about being open and receptive to the ideas that I am ready to receive. I am opening, I am ready, I am capable, I am alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic as I walk into this experiment called life. I see around me everything I'm grateful for. I see around me all those things that are now working in my favor because I was created in the image and likeness of God to receive all these magnificent gifts of the kingdom. The kingdom is here and now. You are in the kingdom right now. The keys have been given to each one of us. We are already in the kingdom here and now. And so knowing this, let's create a greater kingdom, a greater expression of love and of reciprocity and givingness and receiving and joy and happiness and abundance. Let's know that that's our divine birthright. And let's know that as those threads of all those different ideas come together, it creates the tapestry of my life, which is surrounded in gratitude and in love. And so knowing that something wonderful, again, happened here today, an idea was sparked that will change your life today, an idea that was just given to you in this moment will create a whole different experience for you for the rest of your life if you let it do so. So we allow those ideas to become embodied into our life experience. And we say thank you, beloved presence. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. Thank you for whoever created the beautiful food that we ate today. Thank you for this safe place. Thank you. I give great thanks for just being able to be here to talk about gratitude. Yes, thank you, God, for all those people who worked behind the scenes to make this class possible. And thank you, each one of you, for taking the time and effort to be here today, to move forward in your own spiritual evolution, to build a world that works for everyone, where this transformation happens in your life and the life of those around us. Gratefully, I let this be so as I release my word to the law. It returns to me pressed down and flowing over, as we together say. And so it is. Amen. Great class, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Hang on, I'll be right there.